It's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Dan Mandis, this is Red Eye Radio.
866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number. Thanks for being here. 866-907-3339. Gary and Eric, they return next Sunday night, Monday morning. And Donald Trump is up tweeting at this very hour. So the whole Elon Musk-Donald Trump thing, that is apparently starting up again. Elon Musk, I'm not going to live here all night. I'm just letting you know what's going on. Elon Musk has been calling for a new political party amid the criticism of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. And so Elon Musk, and you know this, I mean, he has been very critical of Donald Trump, and he's been very critical of the spending bill. And so now Trump is on True Social just, 19 minutes ago. Donald Trump, he posted this to his True Social. Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars, the president says, electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. And by the way, Elon Musk has said forever that he is against electric car subsidies. He has said that ad nauseum. He said, take the subsidies away. He says, I don't care. He says, my cars will sell anyway. They're great cars. Anyway, Trump continues. He says, Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far. And without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, no more satellites, no more electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good, hard look at this. Big money to be saved. Now, why would Donald Trump do that? Well, because Elon Musk has been calling for, surprise, a new political party. And so none of this surprises me in the least. Elon Musk, this is from The Hill. Elon Musk renewed his calls Monday for a new political party as he is continuously criticizing Donald Trump and against his mega bill as the Senate seeks to move toward a final vote on the reconciliation package. Elon saying on True Social, it is, I should say X, it is obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party. Elon says the Porky Pig Party. Get it, Porky Pig. He says, time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. Elon Musk writing on X, which he, of course, as we all know, owns. The Hill continues with the story. The tech billionaire, whose close relationship with Donald Trump quickly devolved into a public clash earlier this month, has blasted Trump's big, beautiful bill as utterly insane and political suicide for the GOP. Amid his tiff with Donald Trump, Musk had previously launched a poll asking ex-users whether the country needed a new faction for political nominees. He then floated the idea of the America Party to represent the 80% in the middle. Musk, before stepping away from the White House last month, was the head of Trump's Department of Governmental Efficiency, spearheading massive cuts and sweeping changes to the federal government. He is now arguing that Donald Trump's ambitious tax and spending package undermines Doge efforts to rein in spending. In a subsequent post on Monday, yesterday, Musk called out House Freedom Caucus Chair Andy Harris and Representative Chip Roy. How can you call yourself the Freedom Caucus if you vote for a debt slavery bill with the biggest debt ceiling increase in history? Elon Musk wrote, the Senate's version of the bill would increase the deficit by nearly $3.3 trillion between 2025 and 2034, roughly $1 trillion more than the House-passed version. According to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, Senate Republicans, they say, we're facing a marathon Vote-A-Rama Monday. Of course, that was yesterday. While the White House has continued to stress a Friday deadline to get the legislation onto the president's desk. So we're going to start up with all this again, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And you'll notice that in Trump's post on True Social, he doesn't say anything about what Elon was ultimately posting about, which, of course, was the big, beautiful bill. He just comes after Elon Musk, talking about the subsidies that he gets, that he's going to have to pack up and go back to South Africa. No more rocket launches, no more satellites, no more electric cars, no more subsidies for Elon, is what President Trump has been posting. So, you know, the president, he's a nighttime poster, right? So could be for an interesting night. I'm going to continue to watch his Truth Social to see if he continues to post about Elon Musk. It could get interesting as the evening continues on. And by the way, if the president would like to call in, I'd love to talk to him. 866-90-RED-I, or I'd like to talk to you. 866-907-3339. There is a lot of news going on, of course. The Vote-A-Rama yesterday, the big, beautiful bill that continues to be debated. A couple of things just real quick to tell you where we are going with the big, beautiful bill. Vote-A-Rama was going on today. I don't know if they've all gone to bed or not this morning, but there's a lot of debate. There was a lot of, hyperbole. There's a lot of rhetoric. There's a lot of finger pointing today and a lot of drama as the Senate is trying to get this done, send it back over to the House. Now, part of what's going on is the members of the House of Representatives. They're looking at what the Senate's doing, and they're like, are you kidding me? Really? This is what you're doing? And so I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. We are finding out, in real time, how the sausage is made. And so the folks in the House of Representatives, the Republicans, are looking at what the Republicans in the Senate are doing, and they're begging them to stop. So we'll cover all of that and a whole lot more. So basically, Vote-A-Rama. And we talked about this last night. That's where you have, in this case, the Democrats just throwing as many amendments as they can at the Republicans as they debate Donald Trump's bill. Now, what happens is this goes on for hours in the Senate, and the senators, basically what happens is they propose an unlimited number of amendments to this bill, which is then, voted on quickly after minimal debate. Apparently the debate is, and I've never seen this, I couldn't stand to watch it, but apparently the debate goes on for about a minute or so on each side, and then it is voted down. And so one of the things that they try to do, because it does seem like a monumental waste of time, a monumental waste of resources, but there's a method to their madness. And by the way, Republicans do this too. One of the things they try to do is they try to add these amendments into the bill and try to get senators on the record with some of these issues. And then they use those votes against them as they head into the midterm elections. At least that's what they try to do. Now, Mark Wayne Mullen, he is a Republican senator. He has been, obviously, as all Republicans have, they've been really frustrated by what he is calling a dog and pony show.
Bill, we're going through this Vote-A-Rama. We'll probably finish up late tonight. I would say just because the dog and pony show, the Democrats want to show that they're fighting, which is just like a spoiled child. So they're probably going to go through the primetime shows. Sometimes after the primetime shows go off the air, they'll probably quit their fight around 11 o'clock Eastern time or so.
All right. So that was, a little bit ago. So is it a dog and pony show? Is it all for drama? Is it all for headlines? Is it all for narrative control? Well, let's listen in, shall we, to some of the day's audio. This is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Democrats are kicking off Vote-A-Rama. and we're going to make the Republicans vote on amendment after amendment after amendment that shows just who they are. Taking people's health care away so people might die, taking food out of the mouths of hungry children, all to help their billionaire buddies. They're going to walk on a lot of hot coals all day.
Chuck Schumer is such a cartoon character. I genuinely feel this way. Anytime a Democrat says, people are going to die, it's all just rhetoric. That's all just what they like to say.
An amendment that shows just who they are. Taking people's health care away so people might die. Taking food out of the mouths of hungry children, all to help their billionaire buddies. They're going to walk on a lot of hot coals all day.
What can I ask a question? What food are the Republicans taking out of the mouths of children? They're not. So, as Mark Wayne Mullen said, it's a dog and pony show. Speaking of a dog and pony show, what about crying Alex Padilla, another senator?
This bill is fundamentally about one thing and one thing only: cutting taxes for the wealthiest Americans.
This is almost like a greatest hits of Democrat talking points. That's really what this is. How about a few more talking points from a few more random senators for good measure?
This bill would add more than $3 trillion to the national debt.
It seems as if it was drafted just to make a mockery of the wills and wishes of the majority of people in this country,
creating chaos for state budgets and hardship for families.
All right, so there you go. That last one, by the way, was Amy Klobuchar. Now, just so you know, and if you've been listening to me, by the way, I host a morning show in Nashville, Tennessee, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 6 to 10 Eastern time, if you'd like to check out the radio program. But critics are saying that it will increase the deficit by nearly $3.3 trillion over the next decade. The president and his supporters say, of course, is that it'll really give the people more of their money back because of those tax cuts. And that will, in turn, increase consumer spending and increase tax revenue. And that will grow the economy. Now, on Monday, I spoke to my own congressman, actually, on my local show that I was just talking about here in Nashville, where he does say, yeah, this big, beautiful bill that Trump is talking about, it is all about growth. It is all about growing the economy through tax cuts.
So it is absolutely true. If you look at the overall impact of the one big beautiful bill, obviously when I say the largest tax increase in American history, you could look at it the other way and say if we don't pass this, tax decrease, if we don't pass this on January 1st, we would have the largest tax increase in American history. And so the biggest feature of the one big beautiful bill is that it provides certainty to Americans, particularly small businesses and businesses all across this country, about what their tax future is going to be.
Yeah, his name is John Rose. And, the thing about these bills is that everybody has an opinion. Everybody has their own equation. Everybody's got their own historical perspective on how well this is going to work. Now, remember, though, that the Democrats once called a massive Joe Biden spending bill the Inflation Reduction Act, when everybody knew that it would not reduce inflation. As a matter of fact, it did the complete opposite. We all remember that. The Democrats even, again, admitted that it was a stupid name because, again, it did just the opposite. And so I'm just going to be honest, it's hard to take the Democrats seriously in all of this when we all saw how they dealt with Joe Biden and those massive spending bills that did indeed lead to inflation. Congressman John Rose continued to talk about how this will help businesses do what they need to do to thrive and to hire and do research and give raises. What it'll do is it is going to give them certainty in what is going on with our economy. Listen.
Ultimately, what that will do is it will incentivize businesses to make investments because they're going to know what the future holds. The one thing that business needs is some element of understanding of what the rules of the road are, what they're supposed to do. And once they have clear rules and they're able to rely on those, then they're in a position to make longer term investments. And so some.
Yep. And so basically that is, again, Congressman John Rose from my district here in the state of Tennessee. And he, along with many other Republicans, continue to tout how great this bill is. And by the way, remember, Donald Trump put out a Truth Social that told the panicans, remember that whole thing, the panicans, to stop panicking and stop worrying so much about the cutting. Worry more, President Trump said, about economic growth. And the conversation does continue. Coming up next, a lot of accolades from the Washington Examiner and other media outlets over the big, beautiful bill. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. The phone number, 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. My name is Dan Mandis. This is Red Eye Radio.
Hey there. This is Hope Zavara with Mother Trucker Yoga. And here's your health tip of the day. Healthy driver, healthy diesel, powered by House. Lower back pain is one of the most common complaints amongst truck drivers, with over 50% experiencing it regularly. Let's fix that. Sit up tall in your seat, inhale and arc your lower back away from the seat, like there's a pin behind you you're trying to avoid. Now exhale, round your back, and tuck your tailbone under, just like the shape of the letter C. Repeat that movement 5, 10, even 15 times until your lower back and hips start to loosen up and feel ready for the road. There you go. Small, simple changes can lead to big results so that you, my friend, can feel good again. Visit mothertruckeryoga.com and houseproducts.com for more tips and support.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. Bill is calling from Minnesota. Bill, thanks for calling in. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my call. We need. I didn't get a chance to call today to the Senate, but I called the other day, and so we need. Trump is in a league all his own. He is so intelligent. He knows what it takes to make money, but he knows that cutting, it worked the first time around when he was president. You cut, and you increase the people spend more, and there is a by cutting the taxes and by what he's got in the plan, we have a record of what he can do. Let's let him do it again. Let's not hold him back.
Hey, Bill, let me ask you. Hey, Bill, I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I agree with you for the most part. But let me ask you this, though, and I've only got about 30 seconds, so you can do a yes or no. Are you concerned at all with when the CBO comes out and they say, well, this is going to, raise the debt by, whatever, I think they said, what is it, 3.3 trillion over the next whatever. Does that concern you at all?
No, because they've been wrong how many times before. And Trump's been right. So we've seen the CEO be wrong, and I believe Trump is in a league all his own. He knows what he's doing. And
listen, I agree with you. Actually, I believe that Donald Trump knows what he's doing. I do, but I will also say that for me, I do show my concerns. I do have my concerns when the CBO will come out, and because it's not just so you folks know, it's not just the CBO. There's other organizations as well that do have their concerns. But, the bottom line for me, and I've interviewed a lot of senators on this. I've interviewed a lot of congressmen as well. And I believe that ultimately, while I do have some concerns, I also understand that there's a lot in here for the American people. Got a lot more straight ahead on Red Eye.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, here is Dan Mandis.
Appreciate you listening to Red Eye Radio. 866-90 Eye is the phone number. By the way, you can follow me on X and Facebook also at Dan Mandis Show. Would appreciate a follow if you would. So it looks like, and there's a lot of different stories regarding Trump's big, beautiful bill. A lot of folks find it not so beautiful. This is the headline from The Hill. Trump mega bill faces GOP holdouts amid marathon Vote-A-Rama. So it's the same folks that we've been talking about, right? Plus a couple of mystery names. Senate Majority Leader John Thune needs to nail down the support of multiple Republican senators, including at least 2 moderates and 3 conservatives, who have yet to said if they will vote for the final passage of the bill or not. After a marathon series of amendment votes, they say that Senate Republicans are feeling mostly confident about passing Trump's big, beautiful bill, but the legislation still faces several obstacles. 3 conservatives. Now, remember, because we talked about this last night, President Trump can only afford to lose 3 conservatives in the Senate. You've got Senator Ron Johnson, you've got Rick Scott from Florida, and Mike Lee, a Republican out of Utah. Now, they're all pressing, those 3 are pressing for the adoption of an amendment that would cut an additional $313 million in federal Medicaid spending. They say at least 2 of them, Johnson and Scott, won't say if they'll vote for final passage if the amendment does not succeed. The amendment, and by the way, there's a couple of moderates as well who are showing a lot of concern. They say the amendment, which would stop the 9-to-1 federal match for Medicaid enrollees who are able-bodied and without dependent children in states that expanded the program, is unlikely to be adopted. So this is going to be interesting. I don't think anybody can argue with the tax cuts. Everybody knows that the American people are going to be for the tax cuts. These senators, though, they are holding firm on the cuts to Medicaid. Definitely holding firm. So the more that we talk about this, the more that we find out what the changes are. Because remember, this is like a constantly moving target, right? Because there's always changes with this Vote-A-Rama and with all of these negotiations. There's changes that are being made all the time. And with each change, it ends up resulting in perhaps some other change. But this is from the Washington Examiner. The bill, they say, will make the small business deduction permanent and increases it by 20%. We're going over the positives of the bill. According to IRS data, since they were enacted in 2017, the Trump tax cuts, these tax cuts have helped support 2.6 million jobs, billions of dollars in GDP, and annual employee compensation as well. Small businesses, they say, also will be able to invest. Once enacted, they will be able to expense research and development cost. Now, that is a very big deal because you get to write them off. And so that is something that the small businesses will be able to utilize to help and justify research and development. And that is a big part of business because you are investing in your product. And if you can expense it, then it makes sense to do that financially. It's a tax break for small businesses. Now, all of these really do mean that the money is going back to not only the small businesses, but that also means that they're going to be able to hire people. That's going to create, wait for it, a bigger tax base. Now, back to my Congressman John Rose here in Middle Tennessee. He speaks about how this will ultimately expand our growth and our economy by creating more tax revenue.
It generates more tax revenue. We already know that when these tax cuts, many of them that were a part of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, when they were fully implemented, they in fact did result in a faster growing U.S. economy, such that ultimately they didn't really cost anything. They paid off because the growth in tax revenue more than offset the cost. And that's what we will see happen here.
He's absolutely right. Now, ultimately, we'll have to see what they do come up with, but it is going to be fascinating to watch. Donald Trump, by the way, he is very much applying the pressure, not only in person, not only talking about the Senate right now through John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, but basically the president has been making phone calls. I want to say hello to, this is Bob in Baltimore on Red Eye Radio. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Dan. Thank you, and nice to talk with you, and to speak to the listeners also. And what I told the call screener was that I was around when Ronald Reagan was elected in 1980, and the economy was a mess. And what he did, he proposed very strong tax cuts to help remedy that. And when he did, Dan, the Democrats and the leftists acted like the sky was going to fall in, but the exact opposite happened, that there was an economic resurgence and actually more money went into the government coffers because the economic activity picked up. People were buying and producing, and it was an economic resurgence, Dan, that actually lasted for a good 20 to 25 years and even helped Democrat Bill Clinton. So the Democrats really, I think they're interested in power and control, and anything that would speak to an American way that's opposed to their narrative is something that they're just going to resist no matter what. But I think your congressman is very right, and I'd like to call him and remind him, because history is the best teacher, and history did show that with the Carter economy as it was, there was inflation psychology, which Ronald Reagan and Paul Volcker, the Federal Reserve Chairman, I believe, had to wring out of the economy. That took some months. And in order to compensate for the economic deficiencies, Ronald Reagan proposed those tax cuts, and it did exceedingly well. So that's why I say it's been proven, not just in classroom theory, but in actual practice in our country by, I think, the last truly American president, last real American president we've had in 36 years, Ronald Wilson Reagan. So they will work, and I'm praying that this will go through, and it looks positive from what you said, but it will help greatly. It will help all of our people.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Let's not forget that, Donald Trump himself had his own tax cuts back in 2017, and they ended up taking effect in 2018. And my opinion, that did help the economy as well. It gave people more of their money. They spent more. Now, the Democrats will disagree with that at every turn. And then, of course, COVID happened. But I think that Bob is right. I mean, when you look at the vast nature, and by the way, I'm going to move on to something else here in a second. But when you look at just how massive of an impact these tax cuts will have, they're helping small businesses, they're helping individuals, they're helping families. This bill, they say, will reduce taxes by extending the Trump tax cuts from 2017, also increases the tax cuts even further. Now, if this passes, the standard deduction is going to be $16,000 for single filers. That is up $32,000 for joint filers and $24,000 for head of household. So that is better for the American people. That is better for folks because, again, it means you've got more money to spend. Also, no tax on tips, no tax on car loans. I believe that's if you buy your car from an American manufacturer, no tax on car loans, no tax on overtime, child tax credits as well. Immigration enforcement is also in this piece of legislation. Military funding increase. Of course, we do talk about the cuts in Medicaid. One line on this, what it would do. Republicans, what they want to do is institute work requirements of 80 hours per month. Now, folks, work requirements of 80 hours per month. That's 20 hours a week. For able-bodied adults under the age of 65, with exceptions, including for parents of children under 14. So there's a lot of good in this bill. There really is. And the Republicans, it is my hope, and I'm here to tell you, I've got a lot of concern about this from an increased spending standpoint, because there are a lot of things to be worried about. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot of good things in this bill. And ultimately, if we can grow the economy, if we can grow my economy and your economy, that is good for America's economy. And again, the Democrats and basically what a lot of these folks do is they'll cherry pick, one or two or three or four things that they can glom onto. And it's a great talking point, right? That's what they do. And then they just hammer that over and over and over again. Whether or not it is a valid talking point or not, there may be just, like we like to say, a smidgen of truth. But when you've got Chuck Schumer out there, and Chuck Schumer, he's saying things that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Democrats are kicking off Vote-A-Rama, and we're going to make the Republicans vote on amendment after amendment after amendment that shows just who they are. Taking people's health care away so people might die, taking food out of the mouths of hungry children, all to help their billionaire buddies. They're going to walk on a lot of hot coals all day. Again,
Chuck Schumer. The caricature of Chuck Schumer. By the way, this is, the headline from The Hill. House GOP fumes over Senate mega bill. How did it get so much blanking worse? Is what the House is saying. I actually, when I interviewed the congressman from my district, John Rose, here in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, that's one of the things that I asked him. I asked him because I was seeing, I was talking to some of the other senators, and I was talking to, folks, representatives, folks in Congress. And I was hearing a lot of consternation from the people that I interview them all the time during my morning show here in Nashville. And so, the texts are going back and forth. And, there is a lot of concern about what is happening to Trump's big, beautiful bill in the Senate, because apparently it's getting, the House representatives will say it's getting bigger over in the Senate. Here's what the Hill reads like. Moderate Republicans and hardline conservatives, both, they say, in the House, are expressing increasing opposition to the Senate's version of the big, beautiful bill, just days before the lower chamber is set to consider the legislation. A daunting dynamic for GOP leaders as they race to meet their self-imposed Friday deadline. The Senate on Monday kicked off the hours-long Vote-A-Rama, with members considering a series of amendments that they say could be make or break for support in the lower chamber, including changes to Medicaid cuts, like I just spoke about, and tax provisions. The upper chamber, the Senate, is expected to vote on final passage early on Tuesday morning. And again, a lot of this, it is just sausage making. They say as House lawmakers anxiously watch the Senate's deliberations, they are fuming about the state of the legislation. On the text chains, one House Republican says, who is a moderate, on the text chains, on the phone calls, everyone is complaining. This person says, requesting anonymity to discuss the private conversations, telling The Hill there's a few little provisions people will say something positive about, but no one is happy with the Senate version of this bill. It is amazing to a lot of us, this person says, how it managed to get so much blanking worse. 866-90-RED-EYE. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. 866-907-3339.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. I want to warn you of something that's coming. So I want you to brace yourself. It might be just a little startling what you're about to hear. You ready? Just brace yourself. If you're driving, it's going to be unpleasant. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Make it stop!
That is a liberal that has lost her ever-loving mind.
Make it stop!
Over something that Donald Trump is doing. And I cannot wait.
Make it stop!
I cannot wait to play you the rest of the audio. It is coming up. What is she screaming about?
Make it stop!
I'm going to tell you straight ahead on Red Eye Radio. Follow me on X if you would, please. At Dan Mandis Show, Facebook as well. And if you want to call up the radio program, 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Dan Mandis. This is Red Eye Radio.
866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. Facebook as well. Really interesting Gallup poll that was, I guess, released today. And I'm going to ask you the question straight out. Are you proud to be an American? Gallup poll had a survey. Percentage who say they are very proud or extremely proud to be an American. In 2001, so I don't know if this was before or after 9/11, but in 2001, 87% of Democrats polled said that, yes, they were proud to be an American. Do you know what that percentage is now in 2025? Only 36% of Democrats say that they are proud to be an American. Isn't that sad? Like, that is really, really sad. And it makes me wonder, what was it that made you less proud to be an American if you're a Democrat? Republicans? This also makes me proud. In 2001, 90% of Republicans said they were proud to be an American. You know what that number is in 2025, friends? 92%. So since 2001, Democrats have lost their pride in being an American. And for Republicans, we've actually gained a couple of points. And I just posted this to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. And I asked the question, and the question is, where do you stand on being a proud American or a prideful American? Now, I will fully admit that there have been times when I've been embarrassed of my president, Joe Biden. I'm looking at you. There's been times when I've been embarrassed by my vice president, Kamala Harris. I'm looking at you. But I was never embarrassed to be an American, because America has done so many incredible things, not only for the American people in our battle for freedoms, our battle for sovereignty, but we've also done a lot for the world. We have a lot to be proud of as Americans as far as what our country has accomplished. And sure, there's things that in America's past that I'm not proud of. Obviously, I'm not proud of, slavery. The sins of the past. But do you know what I am proud of? I am proud of the fact that here in America, we fought a bloody war to free the slaves. I'm not proud of the fact that there's so many people of the opposite political party of me that are not proud to be American. I think that is epically sad that there's so many Democrats who are not proud that they're Americans. And I don't want to be one of those people that's like, well, if you don't like America, you could leave. No, that's, whatever. People want to leave. They can knock themselves out. If they want to stay, absolutely. But stay the hell out of our way as conservatives. Stay the hell out of our way as we are doing what we want to do and need to do to make America great again after the horrible 4 years of Joe Biden. But I would be curious, and the phone number is 866-90-RED-I, 866-907-3339. If you want to have a bit of a conversation about, being more proud, less proud to be an American, if your pride in being American, being an American has fallen over the years, I would be curious. Now, I will also tell you, and by the way, if you want to answer on X by just, replying to my post, you go right on ahead. Would love to hear that as well. Some of the things that I find really interesting, though, is that there's so many people that are out there that will complain ad nauseum about America. And it's based in a hatred for America. And ultimately, my question would be, why is it you hate America so much? Like, what's your problem? That's what I'd like to ask Democrats. What is your problem with America that you are less proud to be an American? A lot of those Democrats will tell you, you know what they'll tell you? They'll tell you, well, it's because, the America elected Donald Trump. That's what they'll say. America elected Donald Trump. And do you know what my answer to that would be? The answer to that would be, well, I'm still proud to be an American, even though America elected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I was still proud to be an American. I was embarrassed of my president. But that's the difference between Republicans and Democrats, it would seem, is that Democrats simply cannot handle the fact that so many Americans supported Donald Trump. If that's indeed the reason why they're no longer proud to be Americans. I just did find that interesting. So you can find that on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. And if you want to do that, if you want to call in, the phone number is 866-90-RED-I, 866-907-3339. And this is Red Eye Radio. By the way, Gary and Eric, they will return next Sunday night, Monday morning.
Let's kick it.
Ah, yes. So there's a great meme out there. Speaking of my X feed, which apparently I'm very proud of this segment, I posted a meme, and it's a bunch of alligators, and they're bobbing their head up and down, and they're wearing ice hats. You know why? You know why I posted that last night? Because today is a very big day. You know where Donald Trump's going? He's going to Florida.
President Trump will travel to the great state of Florida to attend the opening of a new illegal alien detention center located at Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport.
Yes, today is Alligator Alcatraz Day. The president, and I told you about this last night, President Trump is going to visit this new migrant detention center right there in the Florida Everglades, surrounded by alligators, surrounded by massive python snakes and all kinds of dangerous animals and reptiles. Man, I love this so much.
There is only one road leading in, and the only way out is a one-way flight. It is isolated and surrounded by dangerous wildlife and unforgiving terrain. The facility will have up to 5,000 beds to house, process, and deport criminal illegal aliens. This is an efficient and low-cost way to help carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history.
And the reason why I love this so much is just because it's making the liberals, it's making their heads explode. I just love this. So you just heard Caroline Leavitt and what she's going to be doing. She and Donald Trump and a lot of other folks from the administration They're going to be going out to Florida. They're going to they're going to meet Governor Ron DeSantis, of course, and a lot of other folks. And they're going to be there at Alligator. And so basically what's going to be happening is the migrants are going to be, I guess, flown there. And then they're going to be housed there, processed there as well. And just the thought of being surrounded by all of that obviously is terrifying. It is. And that's the whole point. Because Donald Trump has been saying for how long now, we need a place where we can keep these illegal alien gang members, these illegal alien violent criminals. What better place than right in the middle of the Florida Everglades where there's a bunch of crocodiles or alligators or whatever it is. I guess alligators. They have air conditioning. They have toiletries. They're going to be able to, survive. They're not all going to be getting eaten by the alligators unless they try to escape. I guess Trump is going today, and I think it's going to be open. I think is it this week? They say that this is a facility that was virtually abandoned. Miami-Dade Training and Transition Airport, a 39 square mile airport facility with a 10,500-foot runway. But, that's it. Really, again, it is a 30 square mile area that is completely surrounded by the Everglades and big old snakes and alligators and the whole thing. Now, there's a video that I posted, by the way, and it's a bit of a tour. And it is a tour with Fox News and Steve Ducey and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
You're actually surrounded by gators and pythons.
So this is as secure as it gets. If a criminal alien were to escape from here somehow, and I don't think they will, you've got nowhere to go. What are you going to do? Trudge through the swamp and dodge alligators on the way back to 50, 60 miles just to get to civilization? Not going to happen.
Right. I love, DeSantis, he is really stepping up. But here's the thing. You don't need to worry about the conditions. They do have food. They do have water. They do have air conditioning. They're going to be processed. They'll be able to meet with legal representation, and that's part of the whole thing. Get all that processing done. Get their due process done. Eventually, they will be jailed. They'll be deported. Whatever. Or, they'll go to their trial and they'll be found innocent, whatever. But we need facilities like this because the Democrats, what they're trying to do, they're trying to stop us at every turn. So part of what the president is trying to do and part of what the Department of Homeland Security and some of these other folks are trying to do is they're trying just to figure out a way to do this because they have had so much opposition. And of course, it comes with criticism. This is from USA Today. You ready? The decision has been greeted with criticism from environmentalists and leaders of various Indian tribes. Okay. To be honest, one of the things that I like about this administration is that they don't give a crap about whose feelings are hurt by their policies in their priorities. I love that.
Well, look, when you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape. We do know that some of these illegal criminals have escaped from other detention facilities, like one in New Jersey, which I know was recently reported on. So, of course, we want to keep the American people safe, and we want to remove these public safety threats from our streets, and we want to effectively detain them as best as we can.
She's absolutely right. Caroline Levitt. Now, this old and abandoned airport was supposed to be the largest airport in the world back in the late 1960s, early 1970s. But here's a shock. Environmental concerns shut it down. So now it is indeed largely abandoned. Now, I love the reaction of people on social media like this loon.
I need somebody to tell me that I'd not just walk upstairs and see a clip on the news talking about Alligator Alcatraz, a prison camp that they're building in the Everglades in Florida to throw immigrants into. Truly, what the fuck is happening when they're in the middle of construction of a prison camp in the fucking Everglades to throw immigrants into, which by the looks of it, of what I saw on the screen, looked just like several rows of cargo shipping containers. They're building a ton of shipping containers that they're going to throw human beings into because they're immigrants.
All right, so let me help you out, nut job liberal leftists. Number one, these aren't immigrants. These are illegal alien criminals. But I know that you folks, this is what I love about talk radio. The audience, you are really smart. And you can pick up on nut job leftists trying to take over the language, trying to bald-faced lie on social media, because these aren't immigrants. These are illegal alien criminals, violent criminals, many of whom had done abhorrent things. And I don't believe that they're using shipping containers. What they're using is light structures so that they can be put up and taken down very quickly.
If that wasn't already horrifying enough to throw human beings into containers, Florida had to Florida and be like, you know what, I'll do you one better. Not only are we going to make this disgusting prison camp, but we're going to put it right in the Everglades next to all the gators and joyfully refer to it as Alligator Alcatraz. No, absolutely not. Just make it stop. Make it stop!
I mean, it's that last part.
Make it stop!
It is that last part that I absolutely love. So President Trump is going out to Alligator Alcatraz later today. I can't wait to see how he responds and reacts to it, and we'll have all of the highlights for you tomorrow right here on Red Eye Radio. 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number. 866-907-3339. We'll return next on Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max. The IFTA tax program redistributes tax revenue to states based on your actual miles run. Thus, the truly cheapest fuel can only be found if you subtract federal and state taxes and state surcharges from the pump price to compare. The strategy means that you buy without regard for whether you are paying more at the pump in taxes. IFTA also considers state surcharges, which complicates the fuel buying strategy. Indiana, Kentucky, and Virginia have per gallon surcharges. Connecticut, Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon have per mile surcharges. While some owner-operators buy only enough fuel to get through surcharge states, this practice can backfire, depending on the actual cost of the fuel in each state. When comparing fuel prices, always remember, pump pride minus taxes equals the real fuel cost. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90-RED-EYE. Go to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. You'll see a poll that I've posted from Gallup. Many overwhelming numbers of Democrats not proud to be American. Overwhelming numbers of Republicans are. Go see the poll, and Jim is in Denver, and he's got a comment on this on Red Eye Radio. Hey, Jim.
Yeah, hi. I was hanging on a while. This great to talk to you. I guess you kind of had some different things you were throwing out there, and I didn't pick up too much on this last one. I guess something about criminals in the Everglades. Sounds like a pretty good idea if they want to isolate them and get them away from people and stuff like that. But you said something about our people still proud to be American and all this, and I'm kind of an older guy. I'm over 70 now, and actually 75, whatever. 76,
wow.
And I've been through a lot, and I've been pretty patriotic. I've voted in every election since, I think, Nixon, so it goes way back, like 60, I think it was like 72 was my first election. And I never met then, not usually most state elections, not city very much. Sometimes they do, but unfortunately, all my candidates I vote for never get elected. So that's kind of made me, mad. Other than Reagan, almost no one ever got in that I voted for.
Jim, did you, just real quick, did you not vote for Trump?
I did vote for Donald, or I voted for Trump in both elections. But anyway, there's just so many things that went wrong, like the last 25, 30 years easily. I think when Bill Clinton got in, I just really thought the country really took a terrible turn for the worse.
All right, Jim, we're going to leave it there, but I appreciate the call. We'll return next on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, here is Dan Mandis.
Appreciate you listening to Red Eye Radio, where the phone number is 866-90 Red Eye, 866-907-3339. Gallup poll, percentages say they are very or extremely proud to be an American. In 2001, 87% of Democrats said that they were proud to be American. Here in 2025, that number has dropped to 36%. 2001, 87% of Democrats said that they were proud to be an American. Now, only 36%. Meanwhile, Republicans, 90% of us back in 2001 said yes, they were proud. Today, 92% of Republicans say that they are proud to be American. I mean, I love that. I love that. And I would love to know why it is that the Democrats are actually not happy, no longer happy that they're Americans, no longer proud to be American. Talia is calling in from Jacksonville, Florida. Talia, thanks for calling in. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call. So it's a mixed bag on this one. I think it is a combination of the society they've been slowly creating with not paying attention to the world around them, not having any knowledge of news and what's happening around the world, but also the lack of understanding that the fact that you can even talk about your country, go against your country, protest against your country freely should be an indicator that you should be proud of your country, because people can't do that everywhere. But it's so pervasive right now that even immigrants coming in who are dying to get here adopt that thought process. And it's because everyone's so spoiled. You have no idea what's going on around the world. And so you think that you're at a loss, but it's been slowly built. They've been slowly degrading the idea of America, of a prosperous or Christian or moral-based society for years. And so it's fostered a discontent and ignorance of what they have.
You know, Talia, you bring up a great point. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I host a morning show on Super Talk 99.7 in Nashville. And we had these protests out at the state capitol a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that I asked folks is, why exactly is it that you're out here? And they said a number of things. Among them was, well, we hate our president. We believe that he is a dictator. And it's so ridiculous, because it's like, well, okay, if he was a dictator, then, and if he was such an authoritarian, then you wouldn't be out here protesting, because the military would be here to squash it. It's like they don't even understand. You're right. You bring up a great point, Talia, where it's almost like they don't really understand what a real dictator is really like.
Exactly. Exactly right.
When I think, and you're also right, Talia, when you said, there's a lot of people that are coming in here from other countries, and I don't believe that, a lot of these folks come over here and they end up, within the Democrat Party. Now, I know somebody, a good friend of mine, who he came over, it wasn't Russia, but it was somewhere in that part of the world. And he came over here years ago, he came over, and he loves being in America. He is proud to be an American because he left his country and it was really bad there. And then he comes here and it was like, oh my gosh, his entire world opened up. And, he's like me. He doesn't agree with everything that happens in America. No one is going to agree with everything that happens in America, but you can still be proud to be an American and not be very happy with what is going on in the White House. I was embarrassed, as I said during the monologue. I was embarrassed of Joe Biden. I was embarrassed of Kamala Harris. I was never, though, embarrassed to be an American. And again, Talia, I appreciate the call. Bill is calling from Los Angeles on Red Eye Radio. Hey, Bill.
Hey, good to hear you out there, Dan. Hey, one thought, maybe the people misunderstood the question. Maybe they thought they were being asked, are you proud to be a Democrat?
That's good. I'm going to steal that from my morning show here in Nashville.
Yeah, Dan, as you know, I'm a former journalist, and I knew some of the heavyweights, and when I was growing up, people like Walter Cronkite and Roger Mudd were my intellectual heroes, even though, I didn't agree with them politically about everything, but they and the guy I met, Fred Friendly, who was the former CBS News president, these people were all patriots, and they may have been critical of the Vietnam policy and stuff like that, but they had a respect for the American institution, and most of these guys, including Fred, were World War II veterans, and they saw people die for this country, and Fred was a constitutional scholar who could go to toe to toe with anybody on the Constitution. And when I hear that lunatic using profanity and just showing herself to be a self-promoting narcissistic fool, I think, what the hell happened to journalism? Because I don't know anybody. I didn't know anybody, liberal, conservative, anything in the 80s who thought like that, or who thought that their place as a journalist would be to say something like that. In fact, the Article 6 of the Constitution requires that all judges, legislators, and state executives obey and inculcate federal law. They may not like it, but they're required to do it. And if they don't, they're breaking the law. So I don't know why these people think that, border burglars deserve some kind of special treatment, because they're breaking federal law and everybody's required to follow it. And one other thing, here's CNN. You probably heard them today. I heard them on another program promoting some kind of ICE warning to block ICE's activities, which is clearly illegal. That's obstruction of justice. I can't imagine back in the day any journalist going off on a limb and saying, yeah, let's break federal law and prevent them from doing their jobs. It's just insane.
Bill, do you think there isn't, and I'm going to tell that story coming up because it is abhorrent what CNN did. But Bill, do you think that there's any real journalists out there today? There must be. I think that Bill Malusian over at Fox News, that is somebody who is like a real, actual journalist. But other than, him and probably a few others, I do believe that Brett Baer is a real journalist. But do you think that there's definitely a lack of journalism in America today?
I think what there is that there's a lack of a perspective on the Constitution. And, I was required in the 80s to take a constitutional law class on the First Amendment. And I just, looked at everything from the perspective of what is the legal platform that journalists can stand on. And I rarely hear, and there are some good people out there, and some of them I disagree with, but there are people like, Hugh Hewitt, and I disagree with him on some stuff, but he's a constitutional law professor. And there's some other people that know the Constitution. And again, Fred Friendly, spent his life studying the Constitution. He was not a lawyer, but he knew the Constitution. And that was the lens through which we were taught to look at everything. But I see these people, and listen to these people today, they don't have any grounding, and I'm talking about the mainstream cable lunatics,
right?
And a lot of the people who just like, look, out here in Los Angeles, we got this Odyssey station, KNX, and I leave nasty messages with them because they had a reporter on yesterday who was defending an illegal alien arrested by ICE, and she claimed, well, he's not a criminal. He admits he's here illegally, but he's not a criminal. So I called up and I said, hey, lady, you just said he's a criminal because he's here illegally. Get a new job. These people just don't know what they're talking about, and they don't care about the federal law.
No, they don't, and obviously it's very frustrating to everyone. Do you know where I believe that the real good journalism is right now, Bill? It's happening online. Like there are content creators, there are bloggers, and there are talk show hosts and so forth who they may not call themselves journalists, but they are doing the work of journalists. And the people that call themselves journalists, they're not doing the work of journalism. What they're doing is they are what I would call narrative peddling. And it's really sad. And Bill, I appreciate the call. Always great conversation as always. You heard Bill talking about this ICE tracker, and it's actually I don't want to say the name of the actual app, but there's an app that what they do is they crowdsource ICE and ICE's location. So you go to this app, you download the app, and then other people have downloaded the app as well. And so if you see where ICE is, well, then you just put a little pin right there on the map, and then the people in a 5-mile square area end up getting a warning, a push as far as where ICE is. And so CNN, as Bill was saying, CNN was all over this today. And so there's a lot of reaction to it. CNN, they were promoting it, but they were promoting it in a way where it was like disguised as an actual story. You know what I'm talking about? Much to the display of the White House. But
the Trump administration steps up ICE raids and mass deportations. One tech developer is pushing back with an app designed to track ICE activity in real time. And it's controversial, to say the least. Senator Claire Duffy is with us now. How does this work, Claire, and what are the legal implications?
So, and again, I edited out the name of the app, but again, how it works is it is interactive. Users notify other users where ICE activity is happening, and then they get that push notification. Now, this could be considered illegal, since that means that they are aiding and abetting illegal aliens, some of them violent illegal aliens. Now, the tech reporter on CNN, she was absolutely giddy getting to promote it.
Yeah, John, I talked with Joshua Aaron, who is the longtime tech worker who developed this platform, and he said he really wants it to be an early warning system for people about the location of immigrations and customs enforcement officers. So he says he does not want people interfering with those officers' activity, but he does want people to be able to avoid them altogether if they want.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell that she's very excited. Now, my question would be, right back to her, do you trust that Tren de Aragua and MS-13 will not use this to target and kill members of ICE? Because let's not forget a few things. Let's not forget that Tren de Aragua has actually threatened members of ICE. Their leadership has actually instructed their gang member followers to go after ICE agents. I mean, we had that vice mayor. Remember this story from last week? We had that vice mayor in Los Angeles that seemed to actually call out the local gangs because they were not coming out against ICE. They were not committing violence against ICE. And this vice mayor in L.A., she is now, I guess, under investigation because she put a video out and she's saying basically, hey, and she used the term cholos. She said, hey, cholos, where are you? The biggest gang in America, the most violent gang in America is in your city, is in Los Angeles. Where are you? And a lot of people looked at that and thought that what she was trying to do was convince, these gangs, these very violent gangs, to go after ICE and commit violence against ICE members. By the way, you can check out that story on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. But, you know, again, CNN in this story, really what they were doing was they were promoting the app in the guise of telling a story.
And what I think is really interesting about this in this moment is we've seen so many of the biggest leaders in tech supporting President Trump. But Aaron is sort of an example of the fact that there are people within the tech industry who are really resistant to Trump's policies.
Right. So, you know, it's possible, though, as well, that those tech leaders are supporting Trump because he's wanting to bring jobs back to America. He's doing what he can to make them stronger in our country, promoting, you know, research and invention and all of those things, investing in our country as opposed to helping the bad guys. But whatever. So as CNN is promoting this app, the internet just absolutely explodes because there's a lot of folks that believed that what CNN was doing was they were promoting the app, and the White House definitely had a reaction. I've got that reaction coming up. 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Dan Mandis here on Red Eye Radio.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. Find me on X at Dan Mandis Show. That is where I have a poll. And basically, I've been talking about this for the last hour or so with obviously some other topics. But Republicans are still very, very proud to be an American. Democrats, not so much. They polled both parties in 2001 and again in 2025. Democrats, their pride in being American has plummeted. Meantime, Republicans, it's remained steady and has actually gone up a tick. Not shocking, actually, to me, guy who watches politics. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Dan Mandis. This is Red Eye Radio.
866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. I opened up the radio program, by the way, Dan Mandis, yes, in for Eric and Gary. They return next Sunday night, Monday morning. I opened up the show with this post from Donald Trump, a post which has now made it to the absolute top of the fold, first story from the top, from the Daily Mail. The headline is, Trump threatens to turn Doge on Elon Musk and warns the billionaire that SpaceX, the billionaire SpaceX founder, will have to close shop and head back to South Africa as feud over Big Beautiful Bill goes galactic. You know what happened with Elon Musk and Donald Trump? I mean, what was that, 3-4 weeks ago now, whenever it was, that they got into that absolutely epic battle on social media. I mean, Elon Musk accused Donald Trump of being on the Epstein list. And ultimately, by the way, as you probably know, Elon came back and he basically felt a little sheepishly apologized. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think Trump just kind of let it go. But now with Trump, he is angry with Elon Musk. Now, the reason why Trump is angry at Elon Musk is because of the Big Beautiful Bill. The headline, Elon Musk says he will launch third party if mega bill passes. And a lot of people have said that if there's any person in America that could launch a third party, it is Elon Musk. Elon Musk saying on Monday he would follow through on threats to establish a third party if President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is enacted by Congress. Musk said on X, his America Party will be formed the very next day after its passage. He posted that as the Senate moved closer to a final vote on what he called an insane domestic policy bill. So Elon Musk is very much against, because, I mean, if you think about it from Elon's standpoint, I totally understand. I get his frustration. He went through, Elon Musk went through great personal peril when he took over Doge, when he, got up on stage with Donald Trump. He did the jump on the stage, and he was very excited. And he was very excited to serve our country, to do what he could to help to lower the costs of running our federal government and root out that waste, fraud, and abuse. And Donald Trump was all about cutting spending. Donald Trump was all about doing anything and everything that he could to work with Elon Musk to lower our debt and our deficit. And it's Elon Musk's opinion that the big, beautiful bill will not do that. Elon Musk sides with the CBO when the CBO says, oh, no. This thing is going to raise our debt and it's going to raise our deficit. Now, the president and many Republicans have said, no. It's going to lower taxes. People are going to have a lot more money to spend, and we're going to grow our economy. And I don't know who's right in all this. I respect the heck out of Elon Musk. I respect the heck out of Donald Trump. But I do trust Donald Trump. But Donald Trump earlier today did respond to Elon Musk on Truth Social. And it was a pretty epic post. I mean, I just read you what the Daily Mail wrote, but I'm going to read you the entire thing. This is Donald Trump threatening Elon Musk. You ready? He says, Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. He says Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far. And without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, no more satellites, no more electric car production. And our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good, hard look at Elon Musk. Big money to be saved. That's what Donald Trump said. That was at 11:44 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, Donald Trump, just so you know, because I remember this from last time, Elon Musk has always said, listen, I don't need the subsidies. You want to take away the subsidies, knock yourself out. I don't need them. My cars, Elon Musk has said, my cars speak for themselves. But what Trump is trying to do is he's trying to dismiss what Elon is saying, the concerns about all of this spending. He's trying to basically thwart that narrative by coming up with his own narrative that Elon Musk is really just upset because he's getting rid of the EV mandate. Trump is saying that Elon is upset about getting rid of the EV mandate as opposed to talking about the spending. So it's really interesting, especially the part where Trump is like, maybe Doge ought to take a look at you, Elon Musk. And I think it's really sad. The reason I think this is really sad is because these two have done such incredibly great work together. And we'll have to see. I'm monitoring Truth Social, just so you know. I'm monitoring Truth Social because I want to see where this goes. Because, Elon, I mean, when he posts He posts fast and furious, and he gets really angry as well. So we'll continue to monitor that. I want to say hello to, by the way, the phone number is 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. If you're just tuning in right now to Red Eye Radio, you picked up the show at the beginning of this hour. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. I'm also on Facebook at Dan Mandis Show. But I posted a poll on X, and it's a Gallup poll, and it shows that Republicans, since 2001, Republicans have maintained their pride in being American citizens. Democrats have not. In 2001, it was like something like 80-something percent of Democrats were proud to be Americans. Now that number in 2025, that number has dropped to like 36%. So why is it that Republicans are still proud to be Americans, but Democrats clearly are not? Why is that? You can see the poll on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show, and Dan is in Salem, Wisconsin on Red Eye Radio. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, I'm very proud to be an American. I just was totally upset with Biden, though, and what the Democrats did, prior to Trump getting in office.
Well, Biden and Kamala Harris, they were embarrassments.
Yeah, but I wanted to tell you, I told your screener that I have a tree service in Salem, and I've been in business for 38 years. I bought 3 acres in a business park so I can park my equipment legally, so I'm zoned properly. I pay my taxes every year. I'm 62, just hit 62, and I have never seen it so bad in my field where these illegal aliens are undercutting me. And how can I prove they are? I don't know. But all I know is I drive around and I'm wondering why I ain't getting that job. And there are a bunch of Hispanics, and I'm not racist. I have Hispanic friends. I'm very nice to everybody. I don't care if you're gay or if you're Hispanic or black or Chinese. I'll always treat you with respect. But my biggest issue with this illegal alien thing is that they work real cheap. And they're taking people's jobs, and not just in the tree service. They're getting in everything, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, they are undercutting. I mean, you go to any construction site, you speak to anybody who works in construction, and they will tell you that American workers are undercut. It is wage suppression. That's what's going on, and it is happening all over.
Yes, Dan, exactly. And that's all I wanted to say. And I wanted to say thank you for bringing up the subject. And I'm glad that Trump is deporting them. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I feel kind of sorry for the people, that they have to pack up and go. I mean, sure, my heart goes out to them. But, you shouldn't have came here. You should have thought it through.
Well, and Dan, what I would say to that is we have not done these people any favors because we have given them the impression that they could just stay here, forever. And that's the impression that we have given as a country. And I've always disagreed with that. I've always been a hawk on illegal immigration. I want legal immigration. We need legal immigration, but the illegal immigration has, very much worked to destroy our country. And so that is why Donald Trump is working very hard to get these folks out of here. And it also, as you probably no doubt know, Dan, it also impacts our elections. And I appreciate the call very much. Steve is in Benton, Arkansas on Red Eye Radio. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Nice. Enjoying the weather out here this morning. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm good. What are you doing outside? You work outside at night?
Yeah, I deliver gasoline.
Oh, you're one of those?
Yeah, I'm the 1% of the 1%.
I used to work in a very people don't know this about me, but I used to work in a gas station. I was one of the last ever, full service guys. I'd check the oil. I'd I'd wash the windshield and check the tires and all that stuff. And whenever the gas people would come, I'd have to stay late, and then we'd have to, dip the sticks down into the tank and make sure we got all the gas we needed. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, good on you. There's not many full service left anymore. I can't remember the last time I saw one.
Somebody told me that they still have full service. Is it in Portland? I think it's in Portland. I think it's in Oregon. Maybe in another state, too. Maybe it's New Jersey, I think. But, yeah, they still exist. I was very good at what I did. I actually was one of those people that got tips. I was so good at what I did. I love that job. Anyway, what did you want to say, Steve? Thanks for calling in. Go ahead.
Two things. The vice mayor calling out the gangs. She has no business acumen. The ancient proverb, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If the government is going to take out your competition for you and you don't have to lift a finger, why would you do anything to interrupt that?
Yeah, good point. Good point. By the way, I think they're investigating her too, which they to be honest with you, they should. What else did you want to say?
The second thing is, what if all of this so-called feud between Trump and Musk is scripted to just make the Democrats look even more crazy and insane because they glom onto everything Elon has said in the first part of this feud. You're trying to call him back into the fold. Oh, he's going to be our friend again. And then
right.
The script, and now he's our enemy again. What if this is all scripted? This is all planned out.
And people have said that, Steve. I don't know. I mean, that these two, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there was a meme out there. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a meme out there. I laughed about it when I was during my show in the morning here in Nashville, where it was a meme of Elon and Trump. They're both holding their phones, and Trump is saying to Elon, "Okay, now I'm going to say this, and you respond with this." So a lot of people have said that. I don't know. My opinion on it is I just think that it's sad because they have done incredible work together. And to me, the last guy that you really want to anger, if you're Donald Trump, is Elon Musk. But I don't think that Trump, listen, they are having a political difference. And, they disagree on a piece of legislation. But I think that for Elon, people have said, I don't know if this is true, but for Elon, he is just, on this particular issue, he just goes ballistic. And, some people have said maybe he's having some sort of an episode or something. I don't know about any of that. All I will tell you is that those two are far better as friends than enemies. To be honest with you, Steve, I don't believe that this is a ruse. I think that Elon will more than likely, if the big, beautiful bill, if it does end up passing the Senate and it passes the House of Representatives. And by the way, earlier I was talking about the big, beautiful bill and what was in it and so forth. And somebody very astutely sent me a private message on X. You can follow me at Dan Mandis Show. Somebody said that the things that I'm talking about, they are still currently in the bill, but that could change by the time this morning's show is over because they are constantly adjusting and changing what's in the bill because not only does it have to get through the Senate, but then it has to go back to the House. So this is, as I've been saying, this really is a lesson in how the sausage is made. And again, Steve, I appreciate the call. 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. We'll return next on Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. So Michelle has found me on the socials, and apparently we're talking earlier about Alligator Alcatraz. The leftists out there, the Democrats, they are just absolutely apoplectic. about Alligator Alcatraz, and to the point where, they're on the socials and they're losing their ever-loving minds. And so one of the things that I find interesting is the GOP. I don't know about you, but I'm actually kind of really enjoying the GOP, the Republicans, the Trump supporters, leaning into the hysteria of people on the left. The Florida GOP, they are selling shirts promoting Alligator Alcatraz. It is the best thing. I want one. I mean, they're like $30, but this is very funny. And in case you missed it earlier, Donald Trump is going to Alligator Alcatraz. He's going to be there today. As a matter of fact, he's going to be there with Ron DeSantis and others. A buddy of mine said, well, you wear that, you're going to get some funny looks from people. I could give a rat's behind the funny looks that I'm going to get from people anymore. I've been doing this a long time. And I stopped caring about what, other people thought a long time ago. But here's the problem. The problem is that your car gets keyed. Like if you're a conservative and you're somebody like me who you're in the public eye, your car gets keyed, or, somebody might slice your tires, let the air out of your tires, stuff like that. So I've always been, I've always been just a little hesitant to, wear my Trump gear unless I'm going to a station event. Not that I'm not proud of being a Trump supporter. I am. But I've been through my car getting keyed. I've been through air being let out of my tire, and I really don't want to go through all that again. But I love this Alligator Alcatraz. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post this to my socials. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show if you want to see for yourself what this is all about. Got a lot more straight ahead. Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, here is Dan Mandis.
866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. Appreciate you listening. All eyes are going to be on the Senate tomorrow, as there may be a vote on the big, beautiful bill. I was speaking earlier about Elon Musk and his threatening, if this ultimately passes, old Elon says that he will start a new political party immediately. And here's why that is dangerous. Because a lot of people are sending me direct messages on X at Dan Mandis Show. And, does it really matter if Elon starts a political party? Well, yeah, it does. Remember how much Elon is, just give me like 1 minute. Remember how much Elon is worth. How much Elon is worth. And remember how much he spent on the last election. He spent a lot of money on the House. He spent a lot of money on the Senate. And he also spent a lot of money on Donald Trump. And so the risk would be if Elon has a real legit third party. Like, let's say that, and no, Elon Musk cannot be president. But let's say that he found somebody who, let's say Rand Paul. Let's say that Elon, because Rand Paul is one of those problematic senators, right? So let's say that Rand Paul, who's got a huge following, by the way, and I love Rand Paul. So let's say that Elon Musk and Rand Paul teamed up. And Elon Musk is like the organizer and the money bags behind the, America Party. And Rand Paul was, the guy at the top of the ticket. And then let's say that they got somebody else, who might appeal to, folks who are angry with the big, beautiful bill to be the vice president, the other running mate. I mean, that could split the conservative vote. And you know what happens when you split the conservative vote? Then it boosts the Democrats. So it could actually have, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it could have, real world political consequences. If you had a Rand Paul at the top of the ticket, you had somebody, kind of like Rand Paul, also a, budget hawk in the vice presidency, and then you find a whole bunch of people to start primarying some of these folks in, some of these guys and some of these women who have voted for the big, beautiful bill. You find some of these folks that voted for it who may be vulnerable, and you do what you can to put them in the House and the Senate. And Elon Musk has the money to do it. So, yeah, it could have real world consequences. I don't know if Elon Musk wants to do that. I don't know. He's angry. Elon Musk is angry. He's got a lot of money, and he's clearly not afraid to use it. Now, tomorrow, the big, beautiful, or this morning, I guess, later on today, the big, beautiful bill, apparently there is a good chance that the Senate will be voting on the big, beautiful bill. Then it's going to go over to the House of Representatives. I believe that it will probably end up, in reconciliation, both sides, the Senate and the House getting together to try and hammer the whole thing out. There's a lot of talk about what's going on with this bill. What's in it, what's not in it, what's being cut, what's being put in, and so forth. Yesterday was Vote-A-Rama Day. And that is where, in case you missed it earlier, we're talking about this, where the Democrats, what they're doing in what they did is they throw as many amendments as they can at the Republicans as they debate this bill. And this goes on for like hours and hours. There is so much time that is wasted with this Vote-A-Rama. And by the way, both sides do it. And just so you know, more often than not, if the Democrats are doing something that irritates the living daylights out of you, more than likely the Republicans have done it too. And they will do it again. And one of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to get the Republicans to go on the record with some of these issues. And then they can use those votes heading into the midterm elections. It's all kind of like a bunch of gotcha stuff. But basically what happens is you've got the Democrats, they throw these amendments at the big, beautiful bill, and then they move on quickly after a vote, but there's minimal debate. They take a very quick vote, and then they move on. But it's over and over and over again. So it basically takes up all day. Markwayne Mullin is a Republican, as you know. He's a Republican senator. And he has been frustrated by what he is calling this as a dog and pony show.
Bill, we're going through this Vote-A-Rama. We'll probably finish up late tonight. I would say just because the dog and pony show, the Democrats want to show that they're fighting, which is just like a spoiled child. So they're probably going to go through the primetime shows. Sometimes after the primetime shows go off the air, they'll probably quit their fight around 11 o'clock Eastern time or so.
Well, and I believe that it is a dog and pony show. By the way, I want to try something. So you follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. And Elon Musk is right now threatening to start that I would call it a secondary conservative party, but a new political party that would focus on fiscal conservatism. So right now, I'm on X at Dan Mandis Show. I'm literally looking at my X feed right now. I want you to send me a post, send me a tweet, whatever, and just tell me yes or no. Would you support a new political party started by Elon Musk? Just give me a yes or no. You can tweet at me. You can send me a private message, whatever. You don't even have to give an explanation. I'm genuinely curious as to where the red eye audience is. Would you support Elon Musk over Donald Trump? Yes or no? Find me on X at Dan Mandis Show. This is a dog and pony show, by the way. I mean, we've been highlighting for you, and of course, Gary and Eric have been highlighting for you as well, all of the drama in the headlines and the narrative control that has been going on within the House of Representatives first, and then, of course, the Senate as well. But the question is, I mean, I believe that Mark Wayne Mullen is right, that this is absolutely nothing but a dog and pony show, narrative control. But let's go ahead and go to the audio. This is Chuck Schumer.
Democrats are kicking off Vote-A-Rama, and we're going to make the Republicans vote on amendment after amendment after amendment that shows just who they are. Taking people's health care away so people might die, taking food out of the mouths of hungry children, all to help their billionaire buddies. They're going to walk on a lot of hot coals all day.
So Chuck Schumer, of course, is trying to, he's just a caricature of himself. Do you know what I mean? Like he's trying to be like a villain, but he's not a very good one. Got the stupid glasses, right there on his pointy nose, and he's looking at the camera and, people are going to die. Don't you know? People are going to die. People are not going to die. Children are not going to go hungry. Republicans are not taking food out of the mouths of children. As a matter of fact, Republicans want to increase the child tax credit. And if I remember correctly, there's one part of this bill where if a newborn, if a new baby is born, that baby gets a $1,000 account. They're calling them Trump accounts. So please, Chuck Schumer, tell me how it is that Donald Trump and the Republicans are taking food out of the mouths of children when they are actually giving the parents more of a child tax credit, and they're also giving them these Trump accounts where any newborn baby gets $1,000, which, by the way, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of the $1,000 account for kids. I'm not a fan of it. I understand why they're doing it, but I'm not a fan. This is Senator Alex Padilla. I like to call him Crying Alex Padilla.
This bill is fundamentally about one thing and one thing only: cutting taxes for the wealthiest Americans.
Okay, so it's not, actually, if you look at it, the big, beautiful bill, everybody's getting a tax cut. Everybody's going to save money. Literally everybody. But, the Democrats, they and I've got some of the numbers coming up, but the Democrats, they have their talking points and they like to stick to them. Here's a few more Democrats, random senators complaining about Donald Trump and the big, beautiful bill.
This bill would add more than $3 trillion to the national debt.
It seems as if it was drafted just to make a mockery of the wills and wishes of the majority of people in this country,
creating chaos for state budgets and hardship for families.
All right. So critics, of course, say it's going to increase the deficit by nearly $3.3 trillion over the next decade. The president and his supporters yesterday, I played you audio of one of my senators, Senator Bill Hagerty, who said, well, that's not really the case. What's actually going to happen is they're going to grow the economy by giving the American people more of their taxpayer dollars back through tax cuts. That means that people will spend more. They'll have more money in their pocket. They're also going to give businesses the ability to have more money in their bank accounts so that they are able to give raises. They're able to hire. They're able to do research and development. They can invest in their own company. That's what this is all about, according to the Republicans. It is about growing the economy. Now, I asked folks on Twitter, would you actually support a third party? Or I shouldn't say a third party. Would you support a party that was led by Elon Musk, because he is out there, spouting off on X saying and asking people if they would support a third party if this goes through? So I asked you, yes or no, would you support a third party? Let's see. Dan says 54 seconds ago would not support Musk in a new party. Grace says a minute ago, no, I would not support Elon over President Trump. I don't know if any of these figures take into account the trillions of dollars President Trump has gotten, invested in the U.S., and making thousands of new jobs. Grace says, I know it will take time to happen, but has it ever been considered? Absolutely. Grace, if you listen to me in the mornings in Nashville, Tennessee on Super Talk 99.7, I've been saying that for a long time. I mean, when you look at the tariffs, we have gotten trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, I should say billions and billions of dollars, not trillions yet, but billions and billions of dollars through the tariffs. That's number one. So there's a lot of things that the president is doing and has been doing to improve our economy. You talk about the money coming in from the tariffs. You also talk about the job creation. You know, it was a couple of months ago, and it's still going on, where you have all of these different businesses that are moving here to America to avoid those tariffs. That is job creation. Those people that are getting those jobs, they're now earning salary. They're paying taxes on that salary, but they also will be able to spend more money. Again, it's the churn of the economy. John says, hey, at Dan Mandis Show, Trump and the others will do well to realize, and real quick, there are not 81 million Republicans or Trump voters, but there are 81 million MAGA voters, with or without them. So John says yes. And I've been saying this for a long time, that absolutely, if you are a supporter of MAGA principles, then you've got to separate Donald Trump, or in this case, as John is saying, you've got to separate Donald Trump and Elon Musk from MAGA values. Because there are times, and I'm a supporter of Donald Trump, but there are times when sometimes the things that Donald Trump does are not what I would consider MAGA. But by and large, I do support Donald Trump. Now, would I ever support a third party? I'll talk about that coming up next. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. Got a lot more straight ahead. This is Red Eye Radio.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show, where oldies singer says, hey, at Dan Mandis Show, would not support a new party led by Elon Musk. Admire his genius. However, he says that he is also a very skittish personality. And I was asking folks, if you're just joining us, asking folks on X if you would support a third not a third. I keep saying third party. It's not a third party per se. It is like another party. It's like an alternative to the Republican Party led by Elon Musk, who is out there saying this morning, and he's been saying this, that he is threatening if Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill passes, he will start another political party. And he's got the means to do it. You can chime in. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Dan Mandis, this is Red Eye Radio.
866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. Taking your phone calls, a lot of people chiming in on X this morning. And I posted about this poll that shows that the Democrats, back in 2001, way back in 2001, Gallup did a poll and they asked the question. The question was, are you proud to be an American? In 2001, 87% of Democrats said yes. 90% of Republicans said yes. In 2025, 36% said yes. And Republicans, 92% said yes. So in other words, you look at the Democrats, and over time, they have lost their pride as far as becoming Americans, as being Americans. 2001, 87%. 2025, only 36% of Democrats said they were proud to be Americans. Republicans have kept that pride. Republicans, 90% back in 2001, and then here in 2025, 92%. So we even, went up a couple of ticks. And I do believe that Donald Trump, and listen, I'm not a sycophant for Donald Trump. I'm really not. I disagree with a lot of the things, or some of the things that he does. But one of the things that I really do love about the president is that he is always rooting for America. He is clearly proud to be an American, and he is always looking out for the American people. But in my social media post, one of the things that I had said was that even when Joe Biden was president, I thought, you know what? This is embarrassing. But I was still prideful to be an American. But a guy on X, Let's Go Bucks, says, we don't have to make memes to demonstrate what an embarrassment to our country the entire Biden administration was. They did it themselves. But he also says, I was not embarrassed. I was angry. And I was embarrassed in the early going of the Biden administration. Every once in a while, people end up, messing up a name or whatever it might be. But, Joe Biden, it got to be, obviously, I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know. Biden was just a train wreck. And the older that he got, the further he got into his, administration, the worse it got. But I'll tell you when my anger really started was when no one in the Democrat Party was acknowledging what the hell was going on. That's when I got angry. I got angry when the media wouldn't admit what was going on, what we all saw. I do realize that it is a tired conversation at this point, so just give me 30 seconds. But when it was clear to everyone that Joe Biden had lost his ability to be in office, he was clearly not fit for office. But you had cringe Jean-Pierre up there at the White House press briefings. You had the media tiptoeing all around that conversation. That's when I got angry. That's when I stopped being embarrassed, and I did get angry. And the more that we find out about the auto pen cover-up, the more that I find out about the cover-up regarding Joe Biden, about how he had no idea what was being done in his name, and how unelected bureaucrats were actually the ones that were making the decisions. That's when I turned angry. That's when I got pissed off. And can I tell you what is angering me today? The fact that people like Jake Tapper and Chuck Todd and all these other members of the media are out there saying, who, us? Oh, we were duped. We were sold a bill of goods. We had no idea what was going on. Bull crap. Bull crap. Either they're lying or they are terrible journalists. I used to be a journalist. I'm no longer a journalist. I'm a talk show host. But even I, as a humble talk show host, could see what the hell was going on with Joe Biden. And it was stunning to me at the time that they had such a low opinion of the American people that they would lie right to our faces day in and day out. That's when I got pissed off. That's when I got angry. And now the Republicans, man, I got to tell you, they've got to look into this. They've got to figure out what happened. We've got all these pardons, right? All the thousands of pardons, including Fauci's, that Joe Biden supposedly knew what he was signing, but it was clear that he wasn't. It was clear that he had no idea what he was signing. So I was embarrassed with Joe Biden sniffing. I was really embarrassed when Joe Biden, where was he? Oh, it was so bad. Where they, do you remember this? Was it Normandy? I think it was Normandy, where they had to usher Joe Biden off the stage because they thought that maybe he had had a presidential poop in his pants. Remember, I was horrified. That was embarrassing. But I was also angry because of the lies. 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. I want to say hello to Steve in Alvarado, Texas on Red Eye Radio. Steve, thanks for calling in. Go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, I really think a third party would be a great idea, but I think it should be a party that goes after congressional seats only. They need to take 25% of all the seats away from the Republicans and Democrats and put it in the hands of real independents. They don't need to mess with presidential elections. They need to just go after Congress, because that's where the real power is, and it can prevent either party from rushing through and pushing bills through, because when you've got to talk to independents, I believe, and I'm an independent, I think you have to do a lot more good for the people. A lot of stuff that Biden did would have never gotten through had it been a third party in there. So I think it's good. And, our government started off with elections having 4 or 5 parties. The person that got the most votes were president, and the second runner-up became vice president. So, the parties have rigged everything on us anyway.
Well, one of the things, and Steve, I appreciate the call. One of the things that I would say about that is that you and I don't want to be, a wordsmith here, but you said give it to, a third party, if you will. Well, I mean, nobody's going to give anybody anything. The people will vote, and, we'll see if the American people would tolerate a third party, if you will, run by Elon Musk, who is out there threatening to do that this morning if Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill passes. And one of the things that I said is, all right, well, so if the big, beautiful bill passes and Elon Musk, who has no limit to money that he can utilize to start a third party. And earlier in the broadcast, I spoke about maybe you could have, and I'm just, musing here, but maybe you've got Elon Musk as the head of the party, if you will, the guy that is running the party, the guy that is, getting the fundraising going on and so forth. But you would also have maybe a Rand Paul, who is one of those that is very much against the big, beautiful bill. Here's the thing, though. That would only help the Democrats. As a matter of fact, do you know who would be the biggest donors? It'd be the Democrats. Because if you actually did start a third party, and it's headed by Elon Musk and, Rand Paul or, whoever, fiscal hawk, fiscal conservative is at the top of the ticket for this third party. The Democrats, man, they would be all in, because you divide that conservative voting bloc, and then that just brings them up. So that's why listen, I'm all for. I myself, if they wanted to do it, I would never say somebody should not do that. But my concern, obviously, would be that would only prop up the Democrats, and that would be a big danger. 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. I want to get back to this topic real quick, because I think it's an important topic. We're speaking earlier about, do I have time to do this? I do. We're speaking earlier about the situation over there on CNN, where there's an app, and CNN was promoting it on TV. The app, what they're going to do, what it does is it's going to allow people to track ICE in real time. So I live in, for example, Nashville, Tennessee. And if a bunch of people, down there in East Nashville, and you folks in Nashville know what I'm talking about, if folks in East Nashville or Antioch or, wherever it might be, where it's heavily Hispanic and illegal immigration and so forth, you got a whole bunch of folks with this app and they see ICE coming in, and then everybody's going to start, putting on the app because it is interactive where ICE is. Then what that does is it sends a notification to all of the other people within a 5-mile radius. And so basically it's going to help illegal aliens avoid ICE. And so one guy said, well, this is easy problem to solve, Mandis. All you got to do is have a bunch of conservatives get the app and everybody just starts, putting, on the app that, ICE is here, ICE is here, ICE is here. And you actually, if ICE is everywhere, well, then you know what? They're not going to be able to tell where they are. So if all the conservatives got the app and started, diluting where ICE is, well, then the other side, the illegal aliens and the bad guys wouldn't know where they are. But this is the audio from CNN, because a lot of people really freaking out about the fact that they really were, what they were doing is they were promoting this app.
The Trump administration steps up ICE raids and mass deportations. One tech developer is pushing back with an app designed to track ICE activity in real time. And it's controversial, to say the least. CNN's Claire Duffy is with us now. How does this work, Claire, and what are the legal implications?
Well, we don't know if there's going to be any legal implications, but Claire, man, she was excited.
Yeah, John, I talked with Joshua Aaron, who is the longtime tech worker who developed this platform, and he said he really wants it to be an early warning system for people about the location of immigrations and customs enforcement officers. So he says he does not want people interfering with those officers' activity, but he does want people to be able to avoid them altogether if they want.
So the Trump administration, they were really angry when they saw this, they heard about this. What CNN is doing is they're pretending to do a story, but what they're actually doing is they are promoting the app. And Pam Bondi, for one, the Attorney General, she was really angry. She was on Sean Hannity's show.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing. And people obviously are ICE agents, all of our federal agents who are working hand in hand on these task forces, our federal agents from the Justice Department could be injured. He's giving a message to criminals where our federal officers are, and he cannot do that. And we are looking at it. We are looking at him, and he better watch out, because that's not a protected speech. That is threatening the lives of our law enforcement officers throughout this country. And shame on CNN. I just saw that for the first time when you showed it, that they're promoting that app. That's shame on them for doing that. That could hurt our law enforcement officers who are out there protecting them, protecting all of us every single day.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where this goes. But there is no doubt that law enforcement is under attack. We had what happened in Idaho over the weekend, right, where guys started the fires, and the fire department came, and the guy who allegedly started the fire, who is now dead, started assassinating or killing the first responders, the two firefighters that arrived on the scene. Horrible, horrible story. Milwaukee is dealing with a situation. One of the police officers, you may have heard this story, terrible story, but it's really important, where two police officers arrive on a scene and they were ambushed and they were shot by, some reprehensible individual. One of the police officers died. So if there's ever any doubt, whether it is Idaho or whether it is Milwaukee, Wisconsin, if there is ever any doubt that law enforcement and first responders are in trouble, just look at Milwaukee. Just look at what happened in Idaho. It was both of these were ambush shootings. These two police officers were shot and wounded. This is in Milwaukee, shot and wounded near 25th and Garfield on June 26th. The Milwaukee Police Department say the suspect, later identified as 22-year-old Tremaine Jones, was taken into custody, but police say the gunman ambushed the officers with gunfire hitting both. And sadly, one of the police officers has now passed away. Now, I'm heartened to say it looks like, at least from this article, Fox 6 News in Milwaukee, that the community is sort of banding together to support their local police department. That is important. We do need to see more support with the police departments all across the country, because unfortunately right now they are clearly under attack. 866-90 Red Eye. Dan Mandis here. This is Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
So real quick, I played you some audio of Attorney General Pam Bondi, her thoughts on CNN promoting that app that will alert illegal aliens where ICE is. Well, if you thought that she was angry, wait till you hear Tom Homan.
What's your response to CNN?
It's disgusting. I mean, I cannot believe we're in a world where the men and women who enforce the law are the bad guys, and one who broke the law, they're victims. And look, it's already a dangerous job. You know, ICE agents are arresting the worst of the worst. President Trump committed from day one. We're going to concentrate our effort on public safety threats and national security threats. So right there, the job's already dangerous. But when you're out there tracking ICE movements and giving people a heads up they're coming, that just puts the danger at a whole new level.
Yep.
You know, it's only a matter of time for someone sits in hiding and waits for an ICE agent and tries to take them out. I mean, this is horrendous that a national media outlet will be out there trying to forecast law enforcement operations throughout the country. I mean, it's incredible where we're at as a nation. And I think DOJ needs to look at this and see if they're crossing that line. I think we need to send a strong message that we need to protect the law enforcement personnel.
Yeah, that is Borders Czar Tom Homan. And there is no doubt that ICE and first responders, I went through this a little bit ago, they are under attack, whether it is the fire department, whether it is the police department, whether it is ICE. We have a very serious violence problem in this country, and it's getting worse. And CNN, you're not helping.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, here is Dan Mandis.
866-90 Red Eye is the phone number, 866-907-3339. And when I go to the phones, we've got Anthony. And Anthony is calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Anthony, oh, hold on. I think I messed this up. Alan, can you put Anthony on the air? We have a new phone system here, folks. Anthony, go ahead.
I'm here, and you're there. That's good. Hey, I was calling about the Milwaukee police officer who died. Cities like Cincinnati, Nashville, they're short about 100, 150 police officers. Same in Pittsburgh. Milwaukee, they're short something like 200 police officers. These cities all are run by Democrats. They got Democrat mayors, and well, at least Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, the city councils are all Democrats.
Oh, Anthony, you should see Nashville, man. We got the freak show of Democrats in the city of Nashville. So, I mean, there are a lot of these cities, Anthony, then I'll let you finish, but a lot of these cities, obviously, they are run by Democrats, and they do allow, and they have allowed these cities to, frankly, go to hell in a handbasket. I mean, look at the shape of San Francisco. Look at the guy who's running for mayor of New York that everybody thinks he's going to win. So you're absolutely right, and yes, they are run by Democrats, and it does put the local police in in danger, because they embrace the chaos and they don't support their police officers. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yes. So I don't even live in the city anymore. I moved away for a number of reasons, but one of them was the vacant properties. The city always said they were going to tear these houses down and fix them up. Well, homeless people or drug addicts would move into them, and it, makes the block look bad. And I mean, as individuals, you can only do so much. And then you see the city, they're more worried about banning plastic bags than they are fixing the problems that are here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have spoken to so many people, Anthony, just like you, who, they want to stay in the city. They want to continue to support the city that, say, for example, maybe they grew up in. But to be honest, these cities make it really hard, don't they? Because if you've got kids, more often than not, the schools are not very good. The crime is out of control. And it'd be one thing if they were trying to fix it. It would be one thing if they were trying to fix the problems. But more often than not, especially when it comes to crime, it's like they don't have any real interest in fixing the problems with crime, because they keep doing everything they can to kneecap the police officers so they can't really do their jobs.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
All right, man. Have a good one. The phone number, 866-90-RED-I, 866-907-3339. Real quick, there's some other headlines that I want to get to today. This is from the Daily Mail. We were talking earlier about what happened in Idaho on Sunday. And I mentioned this in the last break, where a guy allegedly started a fire, then shot the first responders, the fire department, the firefighters that arrived on the scene, shot him. Well, now they think they may know what happened. The Idaho sniper's grandfather is now speaking out about that ambush. The 20-year-old, suspected of shooting 2 firemen dead in Idaho, dreamed of joining the fire department himself and may have been rejected, his relatives have now revealed. They say the shooter may have been turned down for a firefighting job because of his height. Do you know how tall this guy was? 5'8". Is that too? I don't know this. Is that too short to be a police officer or to be a fireman? Sorry, a firefighter. Somebody tell me on X, is 5'8" too short to be a firefighter? That doesn't sound right. I mean, I believe I've seen short firefighters. Guy's name is Wes Van Rowley. They say that he may have been turned down for a firefighting job because of his height. His grandfather has speculated in the immediate aftermath of the attack. He allegedly launched a barrage of gunfire over several hours around 1:30 p.m. at the near the town of Coeur d'Alene in northern Ohio in the mountains. So I don't know. I don't know why he decided to do it. That's what the grandfather is saying. It's because he may have been denied because he was too short and he was 5'8", which does not sound too short to me to be a firefighter. I may be feeling a little less, defensive on this because I'm like 5'5", and but I've never heard of a someone who is 5'8" not being allowed to be a firefighter because that is too short. But that is one of the headlines that are out there. That may be the motivation behind that shooting in Idaho on Sunday. Also, I don't know if you heard about this, but Donald Trump is suing the city of Los Angeles. Headline is Trump goes to war against sanctuary city Los Angeles with a major lawsuit. Now, why would the president be suing the city of Los Angeles? I know you'll be shocked. It's about illegal immigration. Donald Trump is ramping up his war against liberal sanctuary city Los Angeles with a new major lawsuit. The guy was calling earlier. He just called. I forget. Was Anthony? I think it was Anthony. And he was talking about how he moved out of Pittsburgh because of how that city was deteriorating under Democrat rule. I used to live in Los Angeles. For you folks that don't know, I'm from Southern California. My father used to, drag me around in the car, and he would listen to Talk Radio 790 KABC there in Los Angeles, and it was that was my childhood. And so I'm from Los Angeles, and I can tell you that I moved. Not only did I move out of Los Angeles, I literally moved out of the state because I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, you want to talk about a hellhole. No offense to, you folks if you're listening in Los Angeles, but you know that you are. There's a lot of really nice places in Los Angeles, but unfortunately the Democrats and Gavin Newsom, I'm looking at you. A lot of Democrats have allowed Los Angeles and California, by and large, unfortunately, to deteriorate to what it is now. Anyway, Donald Trump is ramping up his war against liberal sanctuary city Los Angeles with a new major lawsuit. The Justice Department, led by Trump appointee Pam Bondi, suing the city on Monday following weeks of anti-ICE riots and destruction. The lawsuit argues that LA's policies attempting to deliberately thwart the work of immigration agents violated federal law. I mean, listen, if that's what they say, and I believe that they did probably try and violate federal law by not allowing ICE to do their job, that is absolutely a lawsuit waiting to happen. Remember Gavin Newsom? I don't have the audio in front of me, but remember Gavin Newsom? How he was like, hey, Tom Homan, come arrest me. Hey, Pam Bondi. Hey, Donald Trump, come arrest me. And he was acting like such a petulant child. Gavin Newsom. I hope he runs for president, and I hope he runs against J.D. Vance. There was a story the other day. And by the way, I hope that the president brings this lawsuit, and I hope that he wins. Who knows what will happen? Pam Bondi saying in a statement, sanctuary policies were the driving cause of the violence, chaos, and attacks on law enforcement that Americans recently witnessed in Los Angeles. She says jurisdictions like Los Angeles that flout federal law by prioritizing illegal aliens over American citizens are undermining law enforcement at every single level. It ends under President Trump. The lawsuit against the City of Angels, they say, comes after the DOJ also sued Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, Rochester, New York, challenging the city's so-called sanctuary city policies. You know, they did a poll the other day, and I forget the poll exactly, but exactly how they worded the question. But they basically asked people, who is your favorite amongst the Trump inner circle? And I think they had Marco Rubio in. I'm a big Marco Rubio fan, but they had Marco Rubio in there. They had, I think they had Scott Bessent in there, Pam Bondi. Do you know who won? J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance won. Now, I think part of what's going on is, the tariff talk is sort of, because remember, it was Scott Bessent for a while. And I think the tariff talk, the tariff hysteria has gone by the wayside. And so now I don't think that Scott Bessent is getting as much publicity. He's not getting the media coverage he once was. And J.D. Vance is doing tremendously well. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is that when Donald Trump, when he needs to get a message out, he sends out J.D. Vance. And basically for me, and I don't know if you want to react to this, you can follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. But I think right now for the current Republican Party, I think right now the two people that are neck and neck to be the next candidate for the Republicans for president of the United States, I think it's either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. That's what I think. You got another name? I want to do that experiment again. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. And if you're on X, you tell me, who would you like? Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, or someone else as the next nominee for president of the United States? Myself, it is really close. It is like neck and neck between J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. There might be some other folks out there that I know there's other people that I'm missing. I am, by the way, a big Pam Bondi fan. I don't know if she's presidential material, but I'm a big Pam Bondi fan. I will, by the way, fully and openly admit that Marco Rubio will have a far better resume, in my opinion, than J.D. Vance when the time comes, because Marco Rubio, longtime senator, and also doing a tremendous job as Secretary of State, and as good of a communicator as J.D. Vance is right now, he doesn't have quite the resume that Marco Rubio does. All right, real quickly, let's say hello to Jeff, calling from Southport, North Carolina. Jeff, thanks for calling Red Eye Radio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you calling in.
I just want to point out, I've been listening to you this morning. I'm a retired law enforcement officer for over 30 years, and I like to be bipartisan. I tend to go to the right. I've voted for Trump twice, and you were mentioning about law enforcement, and I knew it was time to get out when I started hearing to fund the police, and they started implementing plans for that. When you talk about a third party, I agree with that as well, but one thing you will have to address is nepotism, because nepotism is rampant in law enforcement. I am just shocked to see how they'll bring in relatives and friends of from donations, from donors, and they will promote them up within a department where guys have been working there for a long time are getting stomped down, and they get very frustrated and they feel that they're neglected. So I also wanted to mention, when I heard about the firefighter who couldn't join, 5'8"'s pretty reasonable to be at a good height. And it sounds to me that somebody just didn't want him in there, and they found a way to get him out. And that promotes anger, and that promotes distrust. And I'm sorry to hear what happened, and I'm sad to hear for what happened to those firefighters. And I just wanted to address the point that in being in law enforcement, it's a hard job, and you got to follow the law, and you got to be as human as you can to work with people.
Yeah.
But the most frustrating thing was dealing with the administration.
Well, and I'm here to tell you that here in Nashville, the police officers that I speak to, Jeff, and I appreciate you calling in, the police officers that I speak to, they do all say the same exact thing, and I appreciate the call. Dan on X says Marco Rubio is his choice. Let's see here. Paul says, generally speaking, there is no minimum height requirement to become a firefighter. 5'8" is actually okay. Appreciate it. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number. You can follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. And by the way, I was talking about, maybe who would you like to see as the nominee for the Republicans in 2028? The name Ron DeSantis has come up a few times. Let me know what you think. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.